Welcome back. Well, Donald Trump is this morning awaiting a response from Hamas after putting forward his 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza.
To discuss, we're joined by retired US Air Force Commander Glenn Ignazio. Glenn, good morning to you.
Hey, Glenn.
The US President has given Hamas 3 to 4 days, in his words, to respond. Is that an adequate time frame given the magnitude of what's being asked?
I think for the decision from Hamas, which I believe, the 72-hour mark, I believe, was yesterday that it started. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hamas has really got this point, and you can hear Netanyahu say is like, you got to either accept this, or we're going to come to move in. So are you going to accept it, or are you going to die, or take some amnesty that we hear about too as well?
The issue is, Glenn, I think we all know that Hamas is not going to accept this. Certainly they would like to make some modifications. So where does that leave the deal?
Definitely in question. I think that that is the biggest difficulty. Like I said, this amnesty thing was really interesting if they lay down their arms, but which country is going to take Hamas? They've gotten a lot of enemies out there. But you're right, if that's going to be the case, then Netanyahu and the IDF is going to proceed with their military operation. Whereas really this has been brought together by so many Arab leaders, U.S., Netanyahu, all these other people. I think it's a great plan moving forward. But what is Hamas going to do? As we see, what's maybe 40,000 militants left that are making more than 2 million suffering. I really hope that this gets pushed forward in some way. It's really death or take this offer.
Benjamin Netanyahu said they could do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way includes his vow that he could go alone if Hamas doesn't agree. What would that look like?
I think it would just be maybe even more intense of what we're seeing now. I mean, there's only approximately 20 hostages left alive. And I mean, that's really the last piece of all this. So it is also the last bargaining chip that Hamas has. But Netanyahu is saying, hey, we're going to press through this rather aggressively to get this over with. And so that's the delicate part about how is this going to impact Netanyahu and IDF if something happens to the hostages. But really, this is like the best opportunity. And the idea that so many people are pulling together this, so many countries, I think that's the most outstanding part in this, board of peace and so forth. I think it's a nice plan, but you're right. I think it will be more intense if Hamas says no.
In the middle of all this, of course, are the innocent civilians, right? The Palestinians who are caught in the middle, the remaining hostages, as you say, there are around 20 of them. 60,000 people have been killed in Gaza. So much suffering, and yet we still aren't any closer to a resolution almost 2 years on. It does make you wonder what Hamas has left in it. I mean, which country within the Middle East is on their side? Who will be able to help them out of this if they do not take this deal?
You're absolutely right. I mean, so they've upset the Kuwaitis because they supported Saddam Hussein during the invasion there. They upset the Jordanians because they tried to assassinate the prior king. They also upset Hezbollah because they started a civil war within Lebanon some time ago. So even though they're friends, there's a lot of conflict. So you're right. That's a big part of it. But at the same time, the suffering of the Palestinians is horrific, and it's hard to see what the real stories are, but you do see food, fuel, and everything being held by Hamas, which is disgusting, and you can see that in some factual information, but the suffering is just horrific, and I hope that's what ends, and we get through this. So that's the troubling part, and I think that's what everybody's really pushing for right now.
Is Trump's so-called board of peace the way out? So, I mean, he appoints himself in that role. He also has the former British PM, Tony Blair, coming into this to play a role. Is that the way to go about it? I mean, Western forces in a place like Gaza or, the West Bank potentially as well, if we're talking about Palestine generally, that's going to put some noses out of joint when it comes to the Palestinian Authority, not to mention the Palestinians who feel as though their sovereignty is at risk here as well.
Yeah, a great question. So I think he's sort of like named himself sort of like chairman of the board. But here's the interesting that got my attention in a good way. So yes, he talked about Tony Blair, but he's talking about Saudi Arabia, Jordan. He even brought up Iran as a possibility where he says, hey, look, I want to have a peaceful relationship with Iran. So to hear him even mention that was good, that there's sort of an olive branch there if they take it. Again, a lot of other complexities, but the idea that he's pulling all these Arab leaders together and they're going to be a critical part of doing this is important. And it's another thing that Hamas and the PLA can't be part of the government. And there's been 5 times a 2-state nation has been offered to the Palestinian Authority and has been turned down. The last time was Yasser Arafat, I think, in the 80s. So a lot of those have to move on, and a new government and rebuilding has to happen.
6th time, maybe the charm. We keep our fingers crossed to end all the destruction.
Absolutely.
And those suffering and the hostages as well. Great to speak to you this morning.
Thank you, Glenn.
Always.